Alright, Diablo players, let's talk about it. Season 10's brand new system. I've had a lot of people kind of be confused on the system, so I want to make a video breaking down the brand new Chaos Uniques and the Chaos Perks. So for starters, this is kind of a frequently asked question, and I've been seeing this in the comments, and it's somewhat related to this. When did we get 2 amulet spots in 3 hands? And what they're referring to is in some of my most recent build guides for Season 10, I've showed off builds where we are putting slots of items normally in, like, let's say the weapon category. They're now put in like the boots or the gloves or the helmet. Now in Season 10, you're going to be able to do these crazy things with the brand new Chaos Uniques. What these allow you to do is roll an item as a Chaos Unique, and these ones will be kind of scrambled in terms of like the area and the slot that you would normally put them in. So to kind of break this down, again, you can have multiple Chaos Uniques, but not the same one. And I also wanted to go over some of the rules and some of the best tips and tricks, because there's certain things that a lot of people may not actually know about. So for starters, to kind of visually see these in game, Bannerlord's Talisman, for example, is a amulet. Now, if you get it in a different slot as a Chaos Unique, you can see the difference over here. Normally it's an amulet. Now you can see that there are gloves. So you can get Bannerlord's Talisman, which normally is an amulet, now rolled as a glove in Season 10. Now, I wanted to also mention a special rule. If you run a Bannerlord's Talisman amulet, you cannot equip the Bannerlord's Talisman glove. They are technically in different slots, but you're not allowed to stack up 5 Bannerlord's Talisman. Although that would have been a cool idea too, you cannot do that. But even if, let's say that you want Bannerlord's Talisman, and you're like, well, I already got the amulet version of it. You don't want to, in most cases, equip the regular version of the amulet, even if you have a Chaos Unique. And the reason why you would rather use the Chaos Unique in 90% of the scenarios. There are a few exceptions, and that is due to a two-handed weapon rolling double of the stats, which can be very valuable for certain builds. But in, I'd say, 90% of the scenarios, you're always better off on rolling the Chaos Unique version, and I'll explain why. So the reason why is the Chaos Unique variant of it will always guarantee the special unique power to roll perfect and 20% higher than the normal one. So in this picture over here, we see the Bannerlord's Talisman, the unique effect. Okay, we're looking at the bottom one where it says after you spend 275 resources, the next core skill is guaranteed to overpower, and your critical strikes that overpower deal 72x increased damage. So on a Bannerlord's Talisman, this normally rolls anywhere from 20 to 60%. Now, even if you get a perfect one in the amulet, no matter what, the other, again, Chaos Unique will not roll in the same slot, right? So the Chaos Unique version of it will never be an amulet. However, if it rolls as a pair of gloves or a boots or a helmet or a chest piece, it will always roll this stat guaranteed at 20% higher than the base value. So again, 60% of the stat right here would be a perfect one, but it always rolls 72 no matter what. So that is something very key to take away with all of the builds. Again, there are a few exceptions. I'd say 90% of the time, you're always going to want it in a different slot. So if you're like, I really need Fist of Fate, get Fist of Fate, but roll it in a pair of boots or a chest, even if that's something that's key for your build. Now, not every unique item can roll as what's called a Chaos Unique. So that's something to also take in mind. There's a couple other examples that we have images of that Blizzard did show us, but obviously we had the PTR ended. So basically, some of these uniques, again, that would roll, let's say, in the amulet department can now be a helmet. So it lets you kind of free up your extra gear slots. So it's actually a pretty big deal. And again, these roll 20% higher than their normal ones. Now, there's kind of some exceptions, like for example, the amulet over here, the amulet doesn't roll 50% more because it doesn't count it as like the unique on, let's say, a aspect. So this is kind of another rule that I wanted to go over. Even if it's like an amulet, which normally has 50% higher stats, if you have the aspect, not the unique power. So again, just highlighting the unique powers here on these items. Now, not every build will have every single item in a Chaos Unique. Now, I don't want to make this video too long. I kind of wanted to go over the rules and kind of explain it, because I think it's kind of important, because a lot of people may have not seen like the full breakdown, and I wanted to make a kind of guideline for this sort of subject here. But as far as the general uniques, I want to go over this. So this means that these can roll in particular spots. Like if we go to a character's build, I also want to mention that these do not roll on the rings, the amulets, or on the weapons. However, you can have a weapon that rolls as a Chaos Unique. So in the Chaos Unique department here, for the extra part of the rules and guidelines, so you can get a Chaos Unique in the helmet, the chest armor, the gloves, the pants, and the boots. So it's in 5 different categories here. Again, they can be all interchangeable, but you don't want, for example, certain pieces like the Fist of Fate that are normally gloves to roll in the gloves. But in this build in particular, the gloves of the Illuminator will not roll as a Chaos Unique. Again, not every Unique is in the game. There are some limitations on which ones are available, so I want to go ahead and cover that real quick. So the generic ones here for all the classes are Banished Lord's Talisman, Crown of Lucian. These are the 2 good ones right here at the top, and then Endurant Faith, it doesn't matter. Face of Fate, also a fantastic one. Maybe some builds may use Flicker Step. Lockeran's Talisman is okay too, and then I would say Pain Gorger Gauntlets could also be used, but like things like Mother's Embrace, these are like F tier uniques. They genuinely don't matter. So there are a couple cool ones, and some of them do have some synergies, right? Where Banished Lord's Talisman wants you to spend resources, the Crown of Lucian will actually make your skills cost more resources. So some of these you can kind of combo and they will complement each other very, very well. Again, depending on the class that you play, these are going to be the Chaos Uniques. And I plan to make a video guide going over like the best ones in a separate video, because I mean, there's so many to go over for every single class. Again, I'm not going to take up too much time, but a lot of people love the Sorc. So they, Ophidian Iris is there. Hydra Sorc is still going to be very, very cool in the next upcoming season over there. And then with the Spiritborn, you also have the Balazan's Pants for the Thorns poison build, so that's going to be really cool. Beastful Boots is also there on the Rogue. That's a really cool one. Black River is a really fun thing if you like to do off-meta stuff. Lidless Wall is probably going to be one of the S tier ones for the next season. But again, there's so many for every single class that you have to check out what's available. Now that we've went over like the brand new Chaos Uniques, I want to briefly touch upon the Chaos perks. So Mobalytics doesn't have it, so we're going to use D4 builds over here. So this is kind of like the power system. The interface looks the same, but these perks are actually quite unique and much different. So let's go over how they work, and let's also give you guys more gameplay of a different build here. So this is the super Ball Lightning build that's going to be really S tier in the next season as well. But for starters, this is for the Sorc. Each class has different Chaos perks. Again, I'm not going to go over every single one, but just so you guys get the idea. You could select a total of 4 Chaos perks. So one of them is your major one. This is the big one that's going to completely change your build. Some of these, let me make this bigger so you guys can actually read it. Some of these do have overlaps, so you can see right here, like a Beast Corner, it says Chaos perk, and it says every class. So every class will have access to this. So how it works is for every 10% of life you're missing, you gain 20x damage and 5% damage reduction. And then spending resource also drains a percentage of your life equal to 30%. The resources spent refunding those resources. This cannot reduce you to below 10% HP. So you can't eliminate yourself with this, but this would be something that every class can run. Now, if we run Broad over Brains, we gain 200x maximum life. That's crazy. We also get plus 100 healing received. We also get 100x overpower damage, but our maximum resistances are reduced by 25, and our damage reduction from armor is capped at 60%. So there is kind of a big trade-off. And that's kind of the theme with the Chaos season. It's like doing things crazy. Like we have a big amount of extra bonus damage as well as extra maximum life, but then, well, we're going to have to reduce something. And again, this is kind of like overcoming certain like pain points in a build, but sometimes for certain builds, they're going to have like way more armor than what's needed. So they're like, well, I already capped out, or maybe I'm not going to be capped out anyways, and I could just, well, if it's capped out at 60% and I already have 60, what's the loss, right? So you could look at that kind of as a mindset with these Chaos perks. And then this one over here is Chaos Unleashed. So this again is for every class, where killing an enemy generates stacks of chaos, and dealing direct damage to a boss generates 5 stacks of chaos. And then once you have 100, you're going to unleash a salvo, and it's going to burst them for a big burst of that sort of chaotic damage. And then the chaotic burst gains 20% critical strike chance, and then you get to deal 100x damage. Now, so these are available for all the classes. These are the major ones, and I wanted to highlight those. I'll be honest though, most of the classes will take their special one, or the Beast Cornered could be used for some builds as well, because again, you just reduce your HP with another perk, and then you're always going to get this big damage multiplier here. But specifically, Mana Shield is very powerful on the Sorc, and it kind of changes up the way you play. You actually need 0 HP in your build. I literally play with 5 HP in my build, Tormented 4. This is Pit 100 gameplay. But what it does is you have 99% reduced maximum life, and any damage that you take is converted to your mana. And then if you have not taken damage, your mana regen is increased by 5,000%, which is crazy. And then also you gain 400% increased maximum mana, and each point of intelligence increases your maximum mana by 1. So now you kind of have these really cool ideas for builds, and again, that's why in like the build guide where there was some confusion, and why I wanted to make this video is like I mentioned, you need 0 HP. You get no HP on all your pieces of gear. You need no maximum life. It literally does nothing for the build because, again, you're doing mana shield. So all of your defenses come from your mana. So if we lock this one in over here, well, normally it would appear over here, but basically you get to select one major perk. Now, as far as the minor perks, there's a couple. I don't want to make this video again too long. Most of these are kind of just a numbers game, to be honest. There are ones like Power Siphon, where your core skills do 100x damage, but you lose some resource. This one is like super free. Most of these will give you some sort of damage. Some of them will have some interesting interactions, like Crazy Brew is going to make it so your healing potion now grants you 100% resource cost reduction, 80% increased attack speed, which is insane, and then also you get 80% increased movement, and then your potion now has a 10-second cooldown, and you can drink it at full HP. So if you want to make more of an interesting build that like pops the potion, there are rogue builds that do use popping potions anyways, so you can try to have some, again, synergy and some cool ideas with this. So again, there's a bunch of these, but like I said before, most of these are what I would consider mostly like just a numbers game, but it's like, can you actually utilize this? Like this one, again, Power Siphon is going to make it so your core skills deal 100x increased damage, but reduce your maximum resource. So that one's going to be a very, very powerful one. This one is specifically the Sorc, because again, every single class has their own. Some of them can be based on spending sort of willpower, or gaining a certain amount of willpower will then make it so you deal some sort of damage multiplier. So again, it depends on the class that you're playing, but some of them are going to be generic for every class. They can give you extra bonus damage depending on what you may want to do with your build, in terms of like, do I want to use a basic skill and then use a core skill? Or there's a couple ones that have to do with kind of cycling skills, where you would use two sets of core skills to get like a damage bonus. Now there's also this one over here, so there are kind of defensive ones, but there's some interesting ones like this one where you can no longer be healed above 50% life. So you can use that other chaos perk that makes it so your resources, when you spend resources, it also reduces your HP, right? And then now you're going to be gaining 10% to maximum resistances, and then 40x armor, and 100x berry and fortified generation. So again, it really allows you to kind of customize your character, and I think this is actually one of the coolest seasons that we've ever gotten in Diablo, in terms of like what you can do with your builds is really unique. And again, that's why they're called the Chaos Uniques. And also, I wanted to go over this last part of the video, which was a very frequently asked question: where do we get these blue Chaos Uniques? Well, you can get them from, like, the most common way, honestly, is to do the brand new Infernal Hordes. That's the #1 spot. At the very end of the Bartuk boss, let me go ahead and fast forward and I'll show you guys at the very end of the Bartuk boss. This is, by the way, the brand new Infernal Hordes. This is part of the new season. At the very end, when you kill this guy over here, he almost always drops, it's like 1 to 3. That's kind of, you should be getting 1 every single time, but sometimes you can get 2, and at the end, again, at the Infernal Hordes, it'll cost 666 Aether, but you're going to see them drop over here, and again, they drop as blue. I'll hopefully show you guys what they look like. You guys can see kind of like the blue beam over there. It looks kind of similar to the Mythic, depending if you're colorblind or not, but you see that blue beam. The blue beam is the new one, so let me go and pause it just so you guys can see it. So the blue beam is the brand new Chaos Uniques. This is 100% the best way to farm them, is to do the Infernal Hordes, which is kind of the new stuff for the new season. So this is pretty much the #1 best method. However, while I was farming the Tormented bosses, you can also get them there. I'm not sure what the exact drop rate is. They could adjust from the PTR, but that is the best area to farm them, is Tormented or the Exalted bosses, the layer bosses. That is, I would say, the #2 spot, but #1 is Infernal Hordes, and maybe you can get them in other ways. If you guys have gotten them in other areas, let me know down below. But those are like the two main ones that I could actually recommend for farming, because maybe you can get them on a Whisper's turn-in, and maybe the chance is like 1 in a million. I don't know exactly. I don't think many people farm them, but again, let me know your other areas if you guys do know where we can get these brand new Chaos Uniques. But there it is, guys. There's a video guide going over kind of like the rules of them and kind of how the interaction works. But that's going to go ahead and wrap up the video. If you guys enjoyed it, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn that bell if you want to stay up to date with these Chaos Uniques, and I'll be making more guides. And we already have some build guides already ready for Season 10, and a lot more to come very soon. But take care, Diablo gamers, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace out.